Hello and welcome to The Life You're Made For. I'm your host, Dr. Heather Pinney. Often our world feels reactive, confusing, and chaotic. On this show, we're going to slow down together. Take a breath, listen, and learn. We'll be joined in conversations with influential thinkers who will help us make new connections, understand our unique potential, check the beliefs we hold, and learn how to overcome unexpected challenges. I know that each and every one of us holds our own inner clarity, confidence, and courage, what I call 3C living and leading. So let's go after it together. I'm cheering you on. To dive deeper into the tools we discussed today, join the Grace Space Collective by subscribing to my emails. Go ahead and head on over to heatherpinney.com right now to get a free preview of my book, Grace Space, delivered to your inbox. Now let's get started. Hello, Dr. LaNysha Adams. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm with you.
I already feel like we're old friends and we just met, huh?
Yes.
I am so excited to have Dr. LaNysha Adams on our show today. We have been able to connect and she's seen my work. I've gotten to see some of her work and we already knew that we had a synergistic connection on the message that we're trying to offer this world and the humanity we're really trying to serve and support. So I think we're going to have a great conversation today. We're going to be talking about the space at the Crossroads and what that looks like. So before I jump in, I got to read your bio because I got to tell everyone who you are and what you're about. Dr. LaNysha Adams is a TEDx speaker, author of the 10-time award-winning book called Me Power. She's also serves as director of student wellness at Santa Fe Community College with over 20 years in education. Thank you for serving. And a background in applied linguistics. Her work centers on how people make decisions, navigate change, and build lives that stay aligned as they evolve. And she's known for helping high-performing individuals move from lives that look successful on paper to ones that feel fully their own through a practical framework grounded in self-knowledge and principled action. You can see why I have her on my show today. There's a connection of clarity, confidence, courage, and really our desire to make sure that people are not becoming dependent on us, but feeling this empowerment to really access that inside. She's also a survivor of sudden cardiac arrest. Oh my goodness. Dr. Adams brings a grounded, lived perspective to conversations about resilience, identity, and transformation. Her work has been featured in Reader's Digest, Fox Business, and Forbes with appearances on The Roland Martin Show, KOAT, TV, ABC, and Fox 7 Austin, and across stages and media. She brings a message rooted in clarity, reflection, and sustained personal evolution. Thanks for joining us today, LaNysha.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, well, when we first got to connect, you reached out to me, and I think you'd seen my work, you'd listened to my show, and we had started talking, and I think within the first probably 10 seconds, I was like, we're going to have a fun conversation together.
That's awesome.
Yeah, your work is very similar to what I do. And I think one of the main areas that we connected in is this idea that we want to empower individuals to be able to move out in this world and access their own internal wisdom and their own internal guidance. You want to speak to a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I have this book, Me Power. And I'm really, in that work, I really examine why we have this idea that power is outside of ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to help people remember that power is not something that someone else has over you. You know, it exists within us. And then so much of life helps, so many things happen to us that help us forget or move us away from that understanding and inner knowing. So a lot of my work is really to kind of tap back into that and really make it shine through us and out into the world.
I love that. Shine through us. We have to do our own inner work first before we can impact humanity, don't we?
Indeed, we do. I mean, how do you, I guess so many people don't, and they want to have this colonizer point of view about helping others. Yeah. And we see that, and sometimes for certain groups that doesn't feel very good. And so I think there's a lot to be said for that. But in practice, you know, when we're working with people in community, we really get to see how someone maybe not as far along in the journey as us
Mm-hmm.
are still on the journey. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
so amazing when you see folks. I'm here at the community college, so my lens is colored by that all the time. And when I see someone taking the very first step, I get so excited because it helps me remember when I took that very first step, going to college or pursuing college, and then it also helps me remember what it means to take the very first step for me to do something new in the here and now. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we're constantly doing that on different levels. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really cool to be on this individual journey, but in relation always with others.
Mm.
We have to balance that, the individual with the external social world, which sometimes
Mm.
can be tricky.
Oh, it can be, especially if you're encountering kind of crises in your own life. I mean, I'm thinking about your cardiac arrest. Share a little bit about that and how it influenced really how you show up in the world.
Yeah, I have, as a result of that, I have a heart condition. It's called dilated cardiomyopathy, and it just means that now I have a damaged heart and it's enlarged, and I have to take medication every day. And thank goodness I have healthcare, and I have funds to pay because I have healthcare. This med that helps me breathe, talk, and walk like a normal person, and to live with an invisible disability. It's like I don't look like I have this,
Mm-hmm.
but I have this one med that's a miracle drug, and
Mm-hmm.
it's $3,100 for a 3-month refill. Can you believe that?
No,
And
I
if I
can't.
didn't have insurance, it wouldn't be covered. So I'm very grateful. I start there always because
Mm.
if you have heart failure, you can be at many ranges of health. And I'm so fortunate to have this pacemaker, which is like my insurance policy. I take my
Mm-hmm.
meds every day, and then my heart is doing better than it was when I
Mm.
had the sudden cardiac arrest. And the reason why I had that was because I had COVID pneumonia, didn't know it. My heart, my all of my systems got overloaded, and then I went down. My husband found me, performed CPR, saved my life. I was in a coma for a week, and then it took another week to get out of the ICU. And I I think about that moment, and like my life really
Mm.
changed
I bet.
um 180 after that.
Mm-hmm. I bet. Wow. How long ago was this?
4 years.
4 years. Okay. So here you
Was
are
it
today.
4 years? Yeah, 2022. I'm like, was it?
Oh yeah, I know. I was like, I heard COVID, so I knew it had to be somewhere around the 20s, but
Oh yeah.
2020. Okay. Wow. And then I think just that awareness that when something like this happens, it causes you to have new focus, new questions you're asking. What were some of those new focuses you started really realizing in your own personal life that you actually now are bringing into the work that you do?
Yeah, I think the main one is about, how do I lead myself when really, like, not just theoretically or from
Mm-hmm.
research or from the body of work that I've done, but how do I really do that in my daily life, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the smallest practice for me to create space for myself? I
Mm-hmm.
don't think I had that level of intentionality. I think I would do it on, like, if we're in a year, I would do it during the winter break, or I do it, at designated points in time, maybe
Mm-hmm.
once, maybe twice a year max. Now that's a daily practice. So
Mm-hmm.
how I show up, how I lead myself, a friend gave me a challenge. They said, every moment of the day seems like you have accounted for. I'm like, yeah, I'm a mom, I have work, I have this, I have that. And then they said, well, what if you just figured out a way to do nothing for
Mm-hmm.
yourself? What if you want to do something? Fine, go have a coffee, go have a tea, go take a walk, go do whatever. But the practice of doing nothing, like having an intentionality where even if it's 15-minute increments, I'm not attending to anything. And then I can make a choice to show
Mm-hmm.
up with myself, for myself in that moment. And then to do that for a max of 2 hours every day. That
Wow.
practice, I've been doing that for about 8 months, very intentionally. And that is a good balance practice for me because I can measure it, I can see it, and then I'm thinking constantly, wow, okay, I have all these meetings back to back. I can go outside, go for a 15-minute walk. Or when I get home, I have to do all these things, all these, I have small children. And then I'm like, hey, I need 15 minutes to be on this heating pad. And that really helps me center myself in my body and just relieve not all the stress, but like help me go into a physical practice where I can be mindful and intentional about it. So I think to answer your question, long-winded way to answer it is really getting at that practice of, am I being attentive to how I'm navigating the world, and do I create space for myself to rest and to show up however I choose? I mean, it's such a good idea to think about life that way and navigate it as such.
I love that because many of my listeners are these high, amazing achievers. And I'm going to say this with all my fingers pointing back. It takes one to know one. Yeah, both of us. Yeah. I'm like, this is probably what normal, average, healthy people do. They know how to do this kind of stuff, but we have to be told this, don't we, LaNysha? But I love it because what happens is, I liken it to the hamster on the wheel, and it's just, we keep going and going and going. We don't realize how much we are squishing into an hour or a day. And not only that, it keeps rising and rising and rising. And it takes usually something dramatic in our life to make us wake up out of this fog of striving and hustling and saying, why am I doing this? What's chasing me? What's making me do this? This is not healthy. It's not good for me or for anyone I'm serving, whether it's in our personal life or our professional life. And so learning how to set in these very concrete, structured ways is so powerful. And you'll go through seasons in life. I remember even when I was grieving of the loss of my father several years ago, and the little structures were no longer helping me anymore. I had to do like 2-hour blocks uninterrupted. That shocked me. But it's that learning how to listen to what you need in these seasons. You won't be there all the time. And then you get to move into, okay, what's the structure you need to be able to step into that space that allows you to show up really with some clarity and some confidence and courage, but accessing that inner wisdom.
Learning to listen during these seasons. Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes. Well, and one of the reasons I really wanted us to have this conversation today is you get to meet people, and I do think it's a privilege and an honor to meet people at these crossroads in life, whether they're starting college or they're moving into different careers or they're asking brand new questions about adulting. Yeah, we never outgrow those transitional, scary spaces. Here we are. I'm several decades later. I'm probably a little ahead of you, LaNysha, but it's that learning how to equip yourself to handle the crossroads is what I think we both care about. This isn't going to be your last crossroad in life, is what you probably want to tell your little sweet 18-year-olds, or your 21-year-olds. This is the beginning of learning how to cope at crossroads. And I think that's where my heart is for people, because I do meet a lot of them here, and they're just kind of dazed and confused because they're used to knowing what to do, but the blueprint isn't working anymore, or the map they've laid out for their life isn't working anymore. So I guess I want to pivot over there a little bit more and just talk about, when you're interacting with people at the crossroads and they're facing some of these unexpected life shifts, and for some of the population you work with, sometimes it's one of their first crossroads experiences. How do you help them look toward themselves for that inner discernment, inner wisdom, and inner intuition that we want them to start really believing they have inside them?
Yeah. So for me, that really begins with this self-knowing, knowledge of self, right? So when I say that, I mean not knowing yourself as other people define you, but or not knowing based on your resume, your roles, your achievements, right? All the things that you've done that you think make up who you are, but knowing who you are as you define it. And so I talk about this like as the self becoming an object of study when we apply attention to who we are. And that's a weird, it's hard to talk about it because it's not like something we do regularly.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us spend our time studying everything else. You know, we study our jobs, we study deadlines, we study the market, the problem, pressures from the world.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't always study ourselves with that same seriousness. And I think that's where inner wisdom begins.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, the question that I promote people answering is, what do I think I know about who I am right now?
Mm.
Where did that story come from? And does it still fit?
Mm.
And I think there's a lot to say about that. But you know, we're changing all the time, and we really need to be doing what you said at the very beginning, which is this learning process. But it's really, you know, a triad of learning, unlearning, and then relearning,
Mm-hmm.
because we're constantly in development.
Oh, well said. So you're normalizing kind of this evolving, and this life is always dynamic. It's not static. You said a phrase, I wrote it down. I just loved it so much. It's about making sure yourself is becoming an object of study. That is beautiful. And it's, you know, I think about it too, is I use the term of stay curious. Yourself is trying to teach you about yourself, if that makes sense. And sometimes we just don't trust that little inner whisper, or that knowing that we are made for something unique. There's a connection there that's helping us make sure that we are honoring that. But the world is constantly trying to pull us apart from our sense of self. And I'm curious, I know you know this because you've seen this, but what do you think some of those reasons are that pull us apart from our sense of self?
Yeah. I think so much of it is conditioning. I
Mm.
mean, and part of it is fear in a big
Mm-hmm.
way. We're taught very early to look on the outside, you know, for the
Mm-hmm.
right answer.
Mm-hmm.
And everything rewards it: school,
Mm-hmm.
work,
Mm-hmm.
all the extracurricular activities. You know, I'm steeped in it right now with 5 and 7 year old
Mm-hmm.
children. And even the success narratives we tell about others or we share about ourselves is built around that, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what's right, what's correct, what's like accurate. But I think
Mm-hmm.
like when we look at the research on decision making and self trust, and how a lot of that research shows that people who consistently defer to this external authority when they
Mm-hmm.
don't feel certain, um, they do that even when their judgment is accurate or even better than
Mm-hmm.
whatever they're looking towards.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so odd, but it's tied to what psychologists call, you know, the
Mm-hmm.
external locus of control, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you have low self-efficacy, you're not necessarily seeing yourself as the center of even you know your own the way your life functions.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we're in a pursuit at the college, right, people are
Mm-hmm.
pursuing something, they think they need this credential, this
Mm-hmm.
degree, this thing in order to start this next step of their life.
Mm-hmm.
And for many of those folks that's true,
Mm-hmm.
but do they really need it for every aspect of their life? I don't think
Yeah.
so. And so it's hard to like situate ourselves in that if you're not, if your focus is like this, is like external
Mm-hmm.
lies. So I think that's one way to answer that question.
I love that because it's already making me think of a personal example, and you can think of one too. But I'll give you a little time to buy yourself time here. But I was thinking, you think you've outgrown some of that, especially in the work that we do. We're like, have we not evolved? And I'm like, no, listeners, we are right in there with everybody here. Where I was tackling something that was new, and the vulnerability that was coming up in me to start writing a book several years ago. Oh my goodness, the shame that was kidding me. Like, you've been a professor, you should be able to know how to do this. You should have this ability to do it on your own. Just everything I was dealing with. I think I dealt with it for like 2 years going, I don't know if I have what it takes. I had to make sure that I stepped into that space that says, wait a minute, I need some support here, and I get that support. But it still was a journey. I was a little wobbly in my locus of approval, my internal locus of approval. So I look back on it now and I'm like, I over listened to people that had written before. I over listened to some of these people who said they knew how to market my book. And I over listened to some of that. And part of my journey, and let me be very clear, everybody that I involved in my life were so valuable and amazing to me. But I was almost handing my power away a little too much. I didn't hang on to my own internal locus of approval because I was in a vulnerable space and I had never written a book before. I had never self-published and I had never marketed a book. So what do you think my false beliefs are creeping in all the time going, no one's going to read your book. No one's, the false beliefs of nobody's interested in this. You won't know how to sell this. You won't even be able to finish it. You're going to write this and nobody will buy it. These are these awful false beliefs that happen to us when we're in these spaces of vulnerability. And as I've matured and moved forward, I had to really do some of my own reckoning and say, all right, Heath, you got to hang on to your own locus of approval. You might not have done this stuff before, and it's okay, but you have a voice and a message you need to say. And that was something I had to continue to grow and monitor and keep a pulse on. And fast forward to several years later, I would say I'm still having to watch that as I go do like big keynotes. I'm like, wait a minute. Stop worrying about what is it that they need from you, and remember what the message that you're showing up with. So it's hitting me that I'm still in process with it, but just, again, that idea of knowledge is power. If we know that this is a tendency when we're doing something new, which is really what the Crossroads are all about, isn't it? You're embarking on something vulnerable in your life.
That's so beautifully stated. And that example that you gave resonates with me so much. I think it has to do also what you said has to do with like this idea that, trusting ourselves comes with ownership, right?
Yeah.
Because if I follow somebody else's path and it doesn't work out, it's because it was theirs. And I can explain that away.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's a great excuse, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. That's out there. But if I trust myself and it doesn't work, I do have to sit with that. So it's like, so instead of building this internal clarity, confidence, and courage, we can outsource it. And we really need to be reversing that. Our work is about reversing that and recognizing what you said, that the power you're looking for isn't missing, isn't out there, it's in here, and it's just underdeveloped. So it's a little bit further down beneath the surface.
Oh, I love that. Man, I wish I had you in my life when I first started writing. It's just underdeveloped. That's the true belief I needed to hang on to. False belief is, oh my gosh, I've never done this. I don't know what I'm doing. The true belief really is, I've never done this. It's just underdeveloped. Like this is now, you're going to develop a new muscle in your life. And you get to take that journey and stay curious with yourself and stay, what you said earlier, is becoming an object of your own self-study. Love that.
Yes. Oh, I relate so much because so before I had this cardiac arrest and I have this heart problem, I never had to see a cardiologist. The last times I was going to the doctor, I had my son in June 2020, right? He's about to turn 6. And when this happened in 2022, I had to see the cardiologist and all these new doctors. And when I would go into the cardiologist's office, I would just look around and it was geriatric central. And I'm like, I can't identify with this. People are in their walkers. I'm not even kidding. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, feels so weird and so uncomfortable. And like, what in the world am I doing? And, I started, over time, I just started seeing it as like a practice that I'm not as experienced in. Right. And so going to these appointments, going through the process of the appointments. I mean, it's like it's its own universe.
Yes.
So, like I really started seeing it as like, okay, I'm going into this and I'm getting this experience now. And the minute I started shifting, but I had to look at myself outside of myself as a thing that's influence and being influencing and being influenced by and navigating. And once I was able to do that, I started to feel differently about my experience with it. It's fascinating because it's like, well, now I get to get so much insight. And to be honest, I'm just doing it way ahead of everybody else.
Well, and it's so, I want to bring up this idea of just, it's loving. It's a self-loving and a self-honoring, a self-respect that does lead us into really the self-efficacy. And I guess I would say, I think I have to say this because I have so many people too that I work with that has this connection with something beyond themselves. And so I want to honor that too. People know that my faith is important to me. And so in ourself, we get to reach out to something beyond ourself. It might be a higher power. It might be love. It might be someone that is so cheering you on and for you. So I want to honor that beautiful tension and space that we get to honor ourselves and we get to connect to ourselves, but we get to be super selective of who we reach out to that helps us honor our sense of self. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. And we should.
Yes.
We should. We totally should. We should choose our own guides and
yes,
be steeped in that as a choice.
Yes.
And I think that can be extended to choosing your life and choosing all kinds of things that we often feel like when the cards are dealt to us, it's a bad hand. Like, look, I got this bad hand. Now I got this bad heart.
Yeah.
But it's still beating. It's still there. I'm still here.
Yes.
So I got to keep moving forward, even with that bad hand.
Yes.
And I think there's so much to be said for how we choose to respond.
Mm-hmm.
It's infinite. It's really infinite.
Yeah. I was just talking to someone yesterday. It's making me think of this example. And all I kept saying was, you really do get to choose who you want to be part of this very vulnerable journey. And it was a very sacred conversation. You get to choose whether it's an individual, whether it's something in the universe, you get to choose. It's all in your power of what you're inviting in. And I always want to honor that space because there's also this fear that people will start isolating because they're vulnerable and they're scared. And I want to say, no, you get to reach out, but you get to be super selective. And we literally started making a list. I'm like, what are you looking for when you reach out? Unconditional love was the first one on the list. I go, nobody wants judgment when you're reaching out. Nobody wants shame.
No, thank you.
Exactly. So it was this really powerful exercise of her making this list. I wanted loyalty. I wanted faithfulness. I wanted a commitment to my journey. And I think getting that, again, that's the clarity space that I want to say. You get to step into that space and say, who am I choosing to be a part of this journey? And what does that get to look like for me? And how am I defining that? That's combining your locus of approval with any other external influence, but you're not giving your whole power over to them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I really like that. And I like your work because it helps me remember that this clarity, clarity isn't a moment. It's a practice. It really, it changes as you change, right?
Yeah.
And so if we're on this journey and it changes as I change, then where do I, it's like, where do I restart? Because you may reach a point on the journey and then here you are questioning and reevaluating yet once again, not right away, but maybe over time.
Yeah. 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 Who's going to help you be a study of self? Who's going to help you understand your sense of self? And that's what I try and be as a coach. I think that's what you're trying to be as both an author and educator. We're saying, we don't know what you're supposed to do, and we would never dare to tell you what you're supposed to do. What we want to do is honor the fact that you're at a crossroad in life, and we want you to find your own clarity. So we're going to stay curious with you. We're going to handle this space with so much love and respect and tenderness, because how terrified are we all when we're at the crossroad? But we're also not going to touch it too much. It's not ours to touch. That's the boundary there that I love. That's that really respecting self-agency, self-efficacy, just all of these spaces that say, wait a minute, you hold all of this locus of approval in you. You don't need my approval. What you get to have is my support of your internal locus of approval.
Mm-hmm. Beautifully said. Oh.
Well, how do you do that for the population that you're serving? How are you supporting their locus of approval?
Oh, absolutely. So I think, it's really in this strategy of the 3 C's, right? So we keep coming back to that. But what I love about that framework is that it gives people a process they can return to. Because when you're in doubt, when your identity shifts, when something crazy happens in your life that you have no control over. I think that's where it happens, right? For most of us, right? This happened to me. Sometimes things happen to us. We can't control it.
Yeah.
And so that really starts to shift you away from yourself. So that's the crossroads. And when you're there, it's like, what's true for you right now based on who you are today, not 5 years ago, right now, and then what's one action that reflects that truth? Because I think we think confidence is, again, from proof, but we already have it. We already have it. We just have to look at what we're doing in practice, and it's one thing. And then the courage piece is about discomfort and being willing to face that discomfort, willing to stay in that discomfort to get to that, what I'm calling alignment, right?
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be something. The minute you set the goal, the minute you have the desire, all these things are coming to disrupt it. There's delays, there's risks, there's all this stuff. And then you repeat this stuff because clarity is going to shift. Like we said, confidence will be tested. You're not going to see results right away, not always. And courage is going to be required again and again and again. So I just want to implore folks with this idea. And this is what we do at the college. It's not about getting it right once. We want that silver bullet. And it's really about staying in relation with yourself as you evolve.
Yes. Well, I want to go there because I want to help our listeners notice when we're getting pulled away from our sense of self. And this is something that I have really worked on myself. I grew up in a very controlled environment and beautiful things that came out of that, but other things that really separated me from my sense of self. And so I think as I'm looking at this and I really go after the locus of approval. I'm glad you brought that to our conversation today because I really value that and I value self-agency. I value free will. It's our most important asset that we have as human beings. I guess I want to say, what are some signs that you're pulling away from it? And I think before I throw that out there, I'll share what I feel like I have noticed. I get really tired. I get really irritable. I get kind of in a fog. Like I just want to, I don't know, get lost in shows or movies or, stories. I'm overwhelmed with my life. This is signs for me that I'm starting to hand off my power and my locus of approval. And I'm starting to look to other people for it. I might even get angry, but I don't know what I'm angry about. You're just you can feel this sense of division. You're disassociating. It's probably another word that I start disassociating. I numb myself out with whatever my favorite vice is for that week, which we all have, right?
Yep.
So I guess I want to put that on the table and see if you would speak to that a little bit.
Well, I think the numbing out, like the you asked, like, well, how can people, be aware of it or have
signs.
Mind. Yeah, signs. I think one of the major first signs is when you just go on autopilot. That is the most pervasive way because you're just trying to survive. You got to make it through. So by any means necessary. What's the vice of the week, right? And then you just go to that and you checked out, and you're not even seeing what you're doing because you're in the middle of it, the thick of everything. So I think the first kind of like awareness jolt is that you don't have the it's like you're just kind of like doing what you can to get through. I'm just trying to get by. And that I think most of us resonate with. But when we're not in that space, we are more like open, right? So it's like, how do I want to show up so differently? Or we start like expanding our points of view out of like, I gotta put one foot in front of the next. I gotta make it through these next 5 meetings. I gotta drink this bottle of wine so I can get a good night's rest. I have to, whatever it is, right? No shame, no judgment here.
Yeah.
But I think like one question that I I'd love for people to do, because it's such an off the wall thing, is and to answer is like, what's the weirdest thing about you, this unusual skill or talent that could benefit someone else? And when we we come up with these questions and we have these checkpoints, you can do one question a week and you can answer that. It forces you to step outside of the survival tactics and step more into how you see yourself, or how you are experiencing yourself as a self, right? So and then this question, what's the weirdest thing about you? Because we start to kind of get down on ourselves, right? Like, I do this too much. I'm doing this. It's too this. It's too that, and it's negative, from a negative lens. But what if that talent, that unusual skill that you have, is of benefit, and you get to name what that is, and you get to describe how it is of benefit? Now, then, that thing that you do is perceived, and you're experiencing it as a strength, which helps you, again, take a look at where you're at in life and seeing yourself, how you are strongly showing up. I think that's really important. It's almost like disrupting this autopilot mechanism we go through in life.
I love that. When I'm working with clients, I'm often saying, you got to get out of the passenger seat and get back behind the wheel. And you've given over your sense of direction. You've given over your whole vehicle of self, so to speak. And you're not even sitting behind the wheel anymore. Someone else is sitting behind the wheel, and you're wondering why you're not heading in the direction you want to go. You've stopped driving. You've stopped owning your space. And some that are so bad that I go, you're like hanging on to the back bumper and getting drug along with your life. Yeah.
Help.
Yeah. Yeah. You've become a victim to your own life, and you don't even realize that you created this. Like, it's your car. You get to stop it, and you get to boot everybody out of your car if they're not helping you with it. And you get to get back behind the wheel, and then you get to decide how fast you want to go, how slow you want to go, when you need a rest. You get to decide where you want to go. I mean, that's like this whole massive paradigm shift, particularly for people who have grown up in very controlled environments or high control needs for whatever it is. There's a lack of sense of individuation and more of a sense of, you need to think like the group. You need to think to please other people.
Yeah. And that high performer, they're suffering from the script. They're running, it's running them, and they're running from it. And we're really machines, primed for this reflection biologically. So in the 525,600 minutes that make up a year, we think over 2 million thoughts. So what's running us? What's running behind the point of our reflection, right? And we really have to engage in the 3 C's and this learn, unlearn, relearn practice to help us help us get out of that fight, freeze, or flight, and also help us see ourselves as beings that aren't just steeped in basic survival. I mean, it's really it's so pervasive, and it's so easy to just get caught up in that, because we can just run on that only.
Yes. Oh, well said. There's a new, I don't know if you've heard of the 4th F too, fawning, FAWN.
Oh, yes. Oh.
I have loved this latest research. I don't know who came up with it, so I'm sorry. I can't give out the credit to whoever it's due, but I've loved that, because there's a whole nother sense of you're just working on pleasing everybody. And so that's the fawning sense of, and that's how you give up your sense of self. You're like, you can drive my car. It's not mine anymore. You can have the power to take me where I want to go.
Here you go.
Here's the keys. Yeah, exactly. Well, and it makes me think of the core of my research. When I interviewed all of these people about how to spiral up versus spiraling down, what came out of that was 4 themes. It was the ones who learned how to really assess their levels of fulfillment. What fulfills me? What is it that I want out of life? What is it that is my level of fulfillment? What does that look like for me? Heather Penny, what does that look like for me? The second one was affirmation. What affirms me in my life? What gives me the sense of purpose? Maybe for me, it's coaching and teaching and empowering people to hang on to their sense of self and their free will, to create a really safe grace space for people to be able to explore it, particularly at the crossroads. So fulfillment, affirmation, and then the other two are growth and achievement. Where do I want to grow and where do I want to achieve? Owning those four, and I call them the four tires, this is what you need to grab onto your sense of self again. You actually get to decide all of this. You get to choose. And more importantly, you get to be a student of yourself. And the value around this, to learn this in your 20s, is you will have to keep utilizing the skill set because you're always constantly and changing and growing. Nothing stays the same. You're constantly dynamic. So learning how to say, well, who am I today after I've just launched my kids? You know, you've got young kids. Who am I as a mother and a career person trying to like balance all this stuff? What are some of these things that are really shaping me and forming me? Where do I want fulfillment, affirmation, growth, and achievement?
Mm-hmm. 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 And, you know, we started talking about that inner knowing, the inner wisdom, and it's really this deeper knowing, right? That becomes available when you stop outsourcing who you are and start studying really your own becoming.
Yes. Yes. Studying your own becoming. Oh boy, you're getting all these great phrases. I love it. Well, you know, LaNysha, I feel like I could talk to you all day. And you're going to fit in so great with just the conversation I'm having with so many of my clients, my dear friends, my people that I get to engage with on a daily basis. So I'm so thrilled to have you here. But I want to think as we start wrapping up, I want to ask this question. You know, what does it look like to create a personal strategy at the crossroads? It's rooted in clarity, confidence, courage, but it's something that you can return to every time. You're starting a new, almost ritual, a new strategy for, oh, I've been at the crossroads before. Here's what I need to do.
Yeah. I think you really have to start with that clarity, answering that question of, you know, what is true for me right now based on who I am today. And there's a fun exercise that I encourage people to do to ritualize this kind of reflective practice. You can do it with one, because I usually have folks create a list of 10 defining moments, but pick a defining moment in your life. Could be like the defining moment that's happening for you right now, but it's probably better to pick one from before, right? And a defining moment is some kind of a thing that happened where your path changed irreversibly. So new job, old job, first job, losing a lost one, a loved one, traveling somewhere that you've never been. Maybe you moved to another country, maybe paid off debt, whatever it is, pick it and find a photo of yourself at that point in time. I did this 10 years ago because I was looking for something not related. And it was beautiful because I found this photo and I was like, wow, look at who's in this photo. And then I started looking at the photo, trying to remember where I was geographically. And then I started reflecting on the following, you know, how did I feel at that time? You know, what were my goals? How have they changed and evolved? In what ways have I changed? Who's the person in the photo?
Yes.
You know, and in what ways have I stayed the same? And it's really a fun exercise. I mean, we talk about these heavy crossroads examinations, right? Looking at yourself as a self and studying it. But was really fun to do. And you can do it for different points in your life. And what it does inadvertently is it helps you remember what you did for those points in time that were seismically shifting that brought you to where you are now. And just like before, you can do it again, different season, different time, but there are things that you've been carrying with you that you've been refining over time that maybe you haven't thought about because you're just living it. And that exercise really helps you see yourself as a self and really start to appreciate it in a different way. It's a beautiful practice. I do it once a month. actually.
Once a
But
month. Oh, I love
yeah,
that. I was going to ask you the
yeah,
cadence of that. That's beautiful.
yeah.
You know what I'm going to be doing in the next couple days. I
Oh,
can't wait to
it's
try that.
cool. Oh, you have to tell. You have to follow up with me about
Okay.
how you find it because
Yep.
it's such a cool practice.
Yes. Yes. You have permission to text me. Say, hey, how's it going? How was that practice?
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Yeah. And I think I want to offer this thought because this has helped me quite a bit. I just pausing long enough to say, is this some solo time or is this some buddy time? And boy, I can't even tell you how I wish someone would have told me that in younger years. Sometimes you're like either over isolating because it's so vulnerable, or you reach out and you take it to the wrong people, and you're like, well, I just feel worse. I just feel worse after talking to this person, you know. So I think
It's happened to me so many times.
hasn't it? Yeah. But then what do we course correct? We go, well, I'm never talking to anyone about this again when I'm in this vulnerable spot, right? We've done that. What I want to challenge people to, excuse me, to do is just to really slow down and say, wait a minute, I need a new type of voice in my life. I need someone who is going to give me the space to think out loud and stay connected to my sense of self. This person stepped into that vulnerable space at the crossroad and started just putting their agenda on me or their experience on me. They were not sensitive to the fact that I am trying to study myself.
Mhm.
I think that's a basic awareness that I really want everyone to have. Nobody has the right to influence your way of thinking if it's separating you from your sense of self. You get to hold on to that sense of self and say, wait a minute, this person really is now pouring into me. And I feel more empowered after walking away. I feel like there's still a lot of unknown in front of me, but all I have to do is take one step today. These are the things that you want to be feeling if you look at inviting the other people in. And then I also want to encourage you. Sometimes it has nothing to do. You can have the perfect person, but you really just need solo time. You know, I do what I call me retreats once a year where it's just, yeah, I know. LaNysha, this is going to be my challenge to you, but I'm going to text you on this one. Once
Me
a year.
retreat.
Yes, a
Me
me retreat.
retreats.
Yes. 2 to 3
Whoa.
days where I go, look at, she's writing it down, everybody. I go to just take myself anywhere I want to go. Usually it's kind of local because I like to go just drive somewhere. And not going to lie to you, I like luxury. So I like a nicer experience. And the times that when I didn't have any money, I figured out how to do it and still barter some stuff, you know, and exchange. And now that I'm empty nest and I've got a little bit more space and resources, I'm like, okay, I get to go do this for 2 or 3 days, but I bring nothing that is productive. I want to get to know me. And I remember one time I went on me retreat, and I feel no shame on this. I sat and watched music videos for probably 5 hours. I was just getting my heart and it was just getting so filled up with these amazing music that I wanted to fill myself up with. Other times I've brought 15 books and I never cracked one. You know what I mean? It's just, what does my spirit need? I remember walking over to this gorgeous restaurant, just sitting down, eating. I'm like, I just want this really yummy food. Anything I want to do. I didn't make myself work out. If I didn't want to work out, I didn't, I just, anything I wanted for 3 days. I always tell people if you can do it 2 nights, this is a once a year thing. Try and do at least 2 nights because I'm telling you, if you're anything like me, it's that first day where you're just still like detoxing. Like I'm trying not to do anything. So you're a little like stressing yourself out, trying to like be retreated away. But by day 2, you're like, I get a whole nother day in front of me. I get another evening in front of me. And it's just literally saying what feels right in this moment.
Wow. I love that. And the fact that the name is so perfect because
Yeah.
like me,
Yeah.
it helps us linguistically look at ourself as an object of study, right?
Yeah.
And it's not you, it's not I, it's me. It's
Me.
grounded,
Me
personal.
retreat. Yep. Yep. I've written on that. And
Ooh.
typically with sometimes when I work with women, I literally was doing a retreat and I had a woman raise her hand and said, are we allowed to do this? And we all started laughing because we're like, I know, we don't even feel like we're allowed to do this, especially those of us who are caretaking, whether it's our kids or our friends or our older aging parents. Are we allowed to get that luxurious and connect with our sense of self? And I'm like, yeah, you get to treat yourself a little bit.
That is amazing. I think I'm gonna do this again this year for Mother's Day. Last year I was able to go stay at a hotel, like a staycation in
Yeah.
where I live, and then I did it over like all day Saturday, and then I didn't return home until like 4 p.m. on Mother's Day, and that was the best time. But it was only one night, so I'm gonna challenge myself to think about a later time in the year where I can do this me retreat where it's like for 3 days, 2 nights.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Wow.
Do it and then tell me what comes out of it. And the only promise you make to yourself is there's no have tos. And I remember another time, I think I lounged in bed all day. I was coming from such a busy season. And I just was like, I want room service and I want to lie in bed.
Ooh. Oh, music to my ears, that is.
Yeah. Another time I was feeling very adventurous and I just wanted to walk all around this new town and explore everything and then eat whatever sounded good to me. Just little things that you don't give yourself. And I became a student of my sense of self, but more importantly, I cared for me.
Wow. Oh, I love that. Hey, all right. We have our challenges.
We do. We have our challenges. We'll stay connected on that. Well, as we start saying goodbye here, I want to say, what encouragement do you want to leave our listeners today?
I think I want to tell folks and just really remember that we're all on the journey, right? So even as we're talking, we're sharing some practices with you that we know are tried and true that work, and that we've researched. But really, this inner wisdom is the deeper knowing that becomes available when you stop outsourcing who you are and start studying your own becoming. I'm really that repeated beingness of how we are being and how do we define it? What do we call it? Oh, that is the lifetime of work that we're here to do, I think.
Oh, I love how you said that. Stop outsourcing your being and focus on your becoming. You're right. We outsource it. And I just want to say this with so much kindness and gentleness because I've done it. I've outsourced out of fear. I've outsourced out of my deep false beliefs of maybe I'm not worth it. I'm not lovable. I'm helpless. Some of these things we deep down that sometimes we don't even realize we're saying to ourselves, or maybe we picked up in our childhood. And I just want to say, this is your time to rise and to give yourself a big old hug and say, I'm going to step out into this world and I'm going to trust my sense of self. And I'm going to invite people in that support me trusting my sense of self. And I'm going to find that space to start reaching into new potential and trust that I really do get to have the life I'm made for. Thank you, LaNysha. So fun. I'm so glad that we found each other, and I'm celebrating you over there in New Mexico, right?
Yes.
Yes, New Mexico. And I'm over here in Sacramento. So we'll keep doing our work and stay connected, and we have our challenges we'll be checking in with each other on.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, folks, we are cheering you on. Did today's episode resonate with you? Rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And don't forget to subscribe to receiving emails at heatherpenny.com so you never miss a moment of growth. Cheering you on.